again.
So they first pick the Skarner, G2 try and answer with the Xayah Rakan. We're getting to see a couple of highlights from the Nuke Duck killing of the Urgot from the previous game. He did indeed get a lot of pickups. Interestingly enough, Schalke right now hovering over the stronger bot lane, have the right set on the Rakan.
Now, if G2 wants to ruin the Xayah Rakan, they grab Xayah here, which actually is good for them because it's strong against the Rakan engage, but they go back to, I assume, what's going to be Varus Tahm Kench.
Yeah, looks like it.
But they do get Skarner, so the trade in that case does make sense. I think they were trying to force Vander to go Rakan by banning away Alistar and Braum, and then saying, we will now take the Skarner, thank you very much.
Question is, how does Schalke respond? Xayah is open for the combination.
I mean, they have to go Xayah
Kai'Sa
here.
open as well. And going to lock it in. So we're going to see the same duo. I was very impressed with Vander's Rakan in that previous game. Much better than what I was anticipating from what we saw in the regular season. A lot of those top priority picks are available in the top as well. Some of the tanks we've already seen in the small pivot, the Ornn.
So I'm actually really happy to see the Ornn because one of my biggest criticisms for Schalke was that they often relied on Amazing to be the engage because Chachi was always playing things like Shen and Braum that weren't really the strongest forms of starting fights. Obviously he is now playing the Rakan, but having this extra form of engage coming out from Vizicsacsi in the Ornn means that Amazing can look to play a bit more of a duelist jungler. He can go for the Trundle if he wants to and try and match the Skarner in the early game.
Look, it's not Tahm Kench coming in, it's actually Morgana instead for Wedid. So it's a super strong 2v2 lane again, double rage, Black Shield to try and stop the engage from a Rakan. But the thing I'm noticing with Schalke and what they learned from last game is G2 wants to play split push, or they look really good when they do play it. And again, the counter so often is just a ton of hard engage. Always be able to force fights, and I think that's why we get the pivot now. Because Vizicsacsi did not play Ornn all the playoffs.
Yes, and also we got to remember how good Ornn is into the Tahm Kench as well, because you can knock out both targets. So G2 gonna go for that pivot. They're still gonna put a lot more jungle bans on towards Amazing. Both Sejuani and Zac are taken off the board. You would imagine that they look to give the counter pick over towards Perkz, which means that now do they put Wunder on something like a carry, maybe the Gangplank,
a Jace?
A Jace as well is something he's been playing a lot in solo queue, or so they can keep him on the Sion and just put him in that tanky position.
It's gonna actually tell us a lot about the remaining games. He's gonna go on something that can deal damage, and there is of course a bit of one-shot potential with a Cho'Gath now actually swapped it back to the Sion. So we get the same kind of setup as last game where a lot of the damage will come from Yanin.
What does this tell you about G2's mindset or mentality? The fact that they are putting Wunder on these more tank champions.
They see the amount of engage and say, we can't play Jason and these kind of things. Like, it's too risky. They will just hard engage mid against us all the time, and we can't set up a proper split push.
Now I'm expecting something like a Cassio as an answer to the LeBlanc here, another big carry that we've often seen from the side of Perkz, and I think that it does really well into the LeBlanc matchup. You can't often meet her on the side lane, but you offer way more teamfight value, but interestingly, he's actually gone for a Corki in the 1 versus 1. I guess you can just early prioritize magic resistance like the Hexdrinker.
Yes, exactly, and that, you know, go back to Spring when Corki maybe was played a lot, like, it was okay even against some of these assassins because you can itemize early for Hexdrinker specifically. And also your early trade, when she jumps forward, your Gatling gun in the early game is nuts, like after it got buffed, so you actually have really good ways to shoot back. But
and you know she's going to land with the Phosphorus Bomb.
Exactly, but I actually think the main thing with the Corki, ignoring the 1v1 matchup, is last game with Ryze, it was hard for Perkz in team fights against multiple tanks to actually carry the fight. Corki scales so well, and he is an AD carry. So now with double AD carry setup, it takes a bit more weight off the shoulders of Yanin and actually puts it back on towards Perkz specifically. So it's a double carry setup, double AD carry setup with 2 tanks and a Black Shield. G2 was saying, we're ready to teamfight you, and we will teamfight you all day long.
Well, G2 will need to show they can team fight. Schalke showed up in the fights in that last game, led by Nuke Duck's Urgot, his 20th unique pick. He's now going back to a champion he has played several times, the split. That is not something we can say on many. And this LeBlanc could be game-changing, but my eyes are now also on Vander. His Rakan surprised me. I've said this a couple times already. There's a lot of tools and a lot of ways that he can help set this up to Schalke. We're going to quickly chat to Dracos, who's waiting by with Schalke's coach.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Andre. Andre, I gotta know, the draft has been going back and forth. Were you caught off guard at all when they tried to bait you into that Xayah Rakan?
They tried to bait us now?
When they offered you the trade at the start of the draft, giving up the Skarner Varus for the Zyricon.
Oh, no, we're not surprised at all. It was something that we were expecting because they were kind of forced to ban the Urgot now. So it was just an adaptation that we had to do, a choice where we thought that we could have a good jungle matchup as well, even if we skip it to second phase. So we just took the trade and we are happy with it. Rakan had a huge impact on the last game and we expect it to have a huge impact on this game as well.
All right, thank you very much for the insight. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you very much. And as we're talking about Rakan, Vander was on screen. We're into Game 3 of the European LCS Regional Qualifier Finals. Schalke looking to make their first World Championship ever in their first year back on the EULCS stage. And G2 looking to go again and not, for the first time in the organization's history, not make it to Worlds. Pretty exciting games to start the series, so let's dive back into Game 3.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it last game, but now that the series is tied up, you can see that this is expected to be a competitive series. Our third seed going to Worlds will be a hard-fought one, and the third seed still has a long road to play, going through play-ins, and this will be a novel experience for not only the organizations, but for a lot of these players as well. So, as we jump back into game now, minute and a half, we see Jankos on the Skarner, which means that I'm expecting a little bit more early game playmaking, as once he hits that level 6 mark, he has way more options to try and force ganks in the early game.
Well, mainly, I guess, even in terms of CC, look towards bottom lane with the Varus and the Morgana, but there's double cleanse on the side of Schalke's dual lane to obviously try and get out of it, but it is a lane now where G2 said, we want to give you Zyricon, we have a counter in mind with the Morgana here to try and win in the early game. Perkz is a lot more about just farming and scaling in his lane, and it's tank v tank topside, so much focus again on G2's bottom lane.
And the question is, will they be able to pull it off, right? Because last game, we didn't really see a huge amount of focus from either jungler towards the bottom side of the map. The game really opened up around when Schalke found those picks around the Baron, and then they were able to force a couple of mid-game fights utilizing the strength of the Urgot that they had on Nukta.
Yeah, I just want to say, I feel a little bit bad for Yanan in this game here, because playing Varus against the amount of engage and a Trundle pillar as well is super, super difficult. You're never getting time to just sit and auto-attack. You have a Black Shield to help you, yes, but once that is gone, you're basically left on your own to try and kite around many, many engage options and things that can make it difficult. So it's not an easy game, but again, that's why, to me, the Corki pick is huge, because it's Perkz and G2 saying we need another consistent damage dealer in late game fights. And that is the Corki specifically. Amazing as topside, Chachi's been winning every trade.
All right, Pillar of Ice is available to him. Decimating Smash is going to land down, and nobody's taken turret aggro. Getting the teleport out of Perkz will be enough for now. And there was a thought of rediving, but they decided against it. At the moment, just getting that TP, it is a small advantage to Schalke.
They deny a lot of farm away from Wunder, along with getting the TP out from Perkz, as you highlighted. Quick shot. Jankos using this opportunity to get some deep vision in, maybe steal away a couple of camps, but after realizing the Raptors weren't there, he's just decided, okay, fine, I will go back to base. So, nice to see a bit of early game action from the side of Amazing, trying to utilize the pressure that Vizicsacsi built up towards the top side of the map. Let's see if he can continue this kind of early game pressure, especially when you do have a LeBlanc on your team.
Well, talking about that LeBlanc, have a quick stat for you to run. Out of all of Nukeduck's champions that he's played 5 or more times, LeBlanc is his second most unsuccessful. He's played 17 total times in the ULCS, 3 wins and 14 losses. Now, that is something that you did not expect when thinking about the caliber of Nukeduck and the champion Ocean, but this is obviously going to be much more important than all of those previous games combined, because if these games get him to Worlds, that win-loss doesn't matter.
So my question would then be, how many of those wins were when he was playing with Schalke? Because you think back to the number of years that Nukeduck has been in this league and the different caliber of teams that he's also been on in his history, and I think back to things like the Vitality roster from 2016 that initially looked good, but ended up not working out that great. Same for 2017. We didn't see a huge amount of success from the mid lane at Nukeduck.
Small trade bot lane, well trade on top side as well between the two tanks. Junglers not found the early first blood yet. Ooh, Wanderer lands a big one.
Good damage on the decimating Smash. Chachi trading into a couple extra minions. Forced to run for his life, but here comes Jankos. He's got that crystalline exoskeleton, and he's busy waddling his way forward. Flash away from the Impale, but it keeps Chachi alive.
Yeah, that was the important flash on the side of Chachi. If he gets hit by it, Jankos will flash and just stun him instantly. Amazing. waiting for Chachi to TP back, but he's on a ward right now, so G2 could get a bit of free damage.
All right, Jankos and Wunder, they decide to engage, waiting for the teleport. It starts to channel. Amazing flash forward for the chop. Gets knocked up by the decimating smash. First blood picked up by Jankos. And yes, Chachi gets some good damage down, but he couldn't get back quickly enough.
The entire plan there was hide in the brush, wait for Chachi to TP back, and then you can take the fight early. But because it was warded, G2 could just go on him way before Chachi could even join. Ends up being a first blood now for G2.
And amazing, he flashed on top of Wunder to see if he could get a bit of burst damage down, maybe steal away some AD to limit the amount of damage output the Wunder was able to throw out. But because of the stun, proc was still available on top of the Trundle, he ends up getting locked down. So this was the initial play. Jankos comes into the lane, they force a flash out of Chachi. He has to go back to base, health regen. So remember, 8 seconds in order for him to get back, and then there's still a 4-second teleport channel time that Amazing needs to wait through. But in all this time, G2 know exactly what's going on. Wunder doesn't want to give the plan away, and then look, you'll see, it doesn't proc just yet, he flashes in, and there's the stun. So this gives time for the knockup to come through, and he's just chain CC throughout this entire duration, and Chachi, he just doesn't arrive in time.
I gotta say, that was so unnecessary. Like, everything around this setup from Jankos was just not needed. It's your Ornn top lane. You don't have to all in to try and get him ahead.
And of course, if you think about the previous 2 games, in game 1, when Wunder was playing the Aatrox, there was an early gank top. Now, admittedly, the Aatrox was able to then take over the game. You can see 6 KDA plus 23 CSD, gigantic damage per minute. And in game 2, he just out-farmed that Maokai very well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Wunder will win his lane, and he's gonna play really well on Sion, but you can't solo carry the game on Sion, and that is the big difference. You're gonna rely on your carries in team fights. Luckily, again, with Perkz on Corki, you have more of a late-game threat, which can be huge for G2. But I find it super interesting that they opt into just saying, we will just play team fights against you, Schalke. We understand you're drafting all in, engage. We're not going to be allowed to set up split push, so we will just draft a strong team fight ourselves. And then we have to see if G2 can actually win in the late game, which has not been their strength.
Now, the one thing I will say you can do with a Sion who is ahead is use the pressure that you have to push out your lane and then roam mid. Something that we haven't often seen many European Sions utilize is the ability to move from top to mid. We've seen it a couple times down bot, where they come in through the lane and then use their ulti and maybe TP back up to the lane, but the fact that they have a Skarner playing against a LeBlanc and they have a Sion who is ahead and can generate pressure, I'd love to see G2 to try and play around to denying this LeBlanc and getting Perkz into a position where he can carry.
Well, talking about that LeBlanc, I do have that stat for you. Out of the 3 wins he's picked up, only 1 of them is with Schalke. And take a look down bottom. Jankos very, very easily flash impale onto Vander. Starts to back away and manages to survive. Xayah Rakan, the range is gigantic. Cleanse flash keeps him alive.
Yeah, and they also did deny a lot of minions here at the turret, so while they didn't get a kill, it's not the end of the world for G2. They're actually going back in for another one. TP coming in.
All right, let's take a look. Jankos looking for the fracture if he can find it and look for a stun. No flash, remember. Perkz jumps in after the TP. This should be Tau first blood.
And this is why G2 gave away Xayah Rakan to pick Varus and something like a Morgana so they can push in the lane. They play around it now in the early game. They will get the turret at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Great start from the bot lane.
Yeah, I love the fact that G2 have successfully been able to play around their bot lane. They found those early kills top. Wunder moves down to mid to pick up the farm, and now he's going to use his ulti to get back to top.
But just
it's the opposite direction.
I predicted it, boys.
It still counts, though.
But this is great for G2. Now they're sitting at a 1.5k gold lead, and something we've said throughout this series is that when G2 have a lead, they look like a very good team.
Definitely agree. Now keep moving Jan and Madid around the lanes where you want to get an advantage. There is a Drake on bottom side. You can go push out the lane, get the Drake, and then once Rift Herald spawn, you can swap to top side, and you have guaranteed everything on the map. Amazing knows he was around the cloud itself, but he realizes he can't actually start it.
Okay, so what is Schalke's response now?
Well, he's actually starting it right. That's pretty risky.
Schalke's down 1,500 gold. They've lost their bottom lane tower, and if G2 start moving Hyana and Wadid around, how does Schalke respond? What do you want to see them do to Fischio? As Nukeduck gets a decent trade onto Perkz, but he misses the ethereal chain, so no further follow-up from there.
Well, if they obviously see the swap, they can try and match it themselves and be there first and try and actually engage onto G2 with Vander's Rakan once he hits level 6. And if you do manage to kill them, then they will not get Rift Herald topside, and you stop this entire snowball from happening. It is risky, however, because this Varus is very strong in items compared to Xayah, so G2 should have all the cards, and they should be able to get Drake into topside control after. So
My concern for Schalke is typically what you want with a LeBlanc is, even if you don't find kills really early, it's fine. I always put the point at which you need to start doing things around the Luden's Echo mark. Once you've got the first item, that's when you need to be looking and trying to force picks. And that would have been my potential comeback opportunity for the side of Schalke. However, you look at the fact that Wonder's already about to complete his Abyssal Mask. The Hex Drinker is now done for Perkz. And there's a Morgana Black Shield on Fihyanen. And he has so much freedom in this lane where they can just keep pushing it out. They have good setup deep vision. So I think it's going to be really difficult for Nukeduck to try and find those picks, even after he's got that first major item.
And again, that's why everything should be in G2's favor right now. And as long as they play properly, they should get the Rift held. They need to send Jankos in to actually stop Trundle right now. He needs to check that it's not being taken.
And of course, amazing. He started Drake, was forced to run away. He started Rift Herald.
There we go, check
likely
now.
Going to be forced to run away.
And now you see the swap. So again, it's go bot first, push it out, get Drake, push it out again so that you can recall while the enemy team cannot get a turret while you're recalling and running top. Now you swap it over, you move your strong lane to this side. So G2's playing this perfectly. And there's really limited answers for Schalke other than to just take the beating.
This is called textbook League of Legends. If Fischer were to write a book,
Took the words out of my mouth.
this would be chapter 1. What to do with a lead.
I think chapter one is how to get a lead. Chapter 2 would be how to
Fischer
use
doesn't
your
know
lead.
how to get the lead. He only knows what to do once he's got it.
It is true.
G2 Esports will be securing this Rift Herald. And by the way, Hyanen at 11 minutes is going to Blade of the Ruin King completed already. So got a lot of damage to deal with. Perkz ends up winning that trade because he sends the Foss Bomb directly into the face of Nukeduck. And Wonder, he used the Unstoppable Onslaught from the top river to mid lane.
Perfect roaming.
But his
Love
intention was to go bottom lane. So you're almost there on what you want to see on this Sion.
Now, if you are Schalke, one of the answers can be to cross-map. So if the enemy team is going top with their strong lane, you go bot lane yourself. And that's why Wonder is walking away from his turret, because the Schalke dual lane stayed bottom side. They were too far behind to actually swap with G2. So now you have to try and trade the turret on bottom side for the one top, so you gain some gold. Otherwise, well, you're just too far down.
This is chapter 2.
There we go.
What you do. But you're quite right, Deficio. It's kind of the best of a bad situation, right? Like, if you're losing on the one side, you can't necessarily force a fight. You're too far behind on the Xayah to be able to win those 2 versus 2, so you just try and get global gold elsewhere on them.
And you honestly might have to see Nukeduck go down as well to help them, because Sion is one of the best champs at actually defending here. He's very tanky, he has AoE wave clear. Jankos is around 2, so Nukeduck should move from mid to try and stop them.
Whoa, they're already going in onto Wonder. Not letting him clear out the wave. Teleport completes from Shachi. He's going to get that charge down onto Wonder. And the feathers are called back. Upset gets the first kill for Schalke. Nukeduck interrupted from trying that distortion. But here, Call of the Forge God comes out. Send back flying. And yes, Perkz is in the air. But the tower still stands.
So G2 had 2 choices there. They could either keep Hyanen and Wadid pushing towards the top side of the map because of the amount of time that Schalke invested. But G2, they want a fight. Hyanen and Wadid have arrived. Jankos has his ulti and flash available.
I'm waiting for it, but there's not a target available just yet. Vizicsacsi had flash available to him, so did Upset and Vander, so it's always going to be a little bit difficult. That fracture pulls it a little bit short. Wow, Vizicsacsi respecting the potential ultimate, and he's lost his flash now.
I feel like he has to there, but I also feel like a bit of a missed opportunity for G2. Rather than pushing up towards the top side, they try to answer, but I love this from Schalke, just recognizing that they can set up this dive towards the bot lane and punish Wonder for trying to hold in a 1v3.
The problem for them is that Nukeduck and Perkz are moving at the same time to get here, so there's actually enough tools for G2 to defend, and the package is mainly used to force Schalke off the turret. Not to kill someone, just to force them away and get rid of the minions. The moment the wave is dead, Schalke cannot continue, and they will not get a turret, so G2 again are showing they 100% understand what to do with the lead from bot side, and also how to defend against the one play Schalke could do, which was trying to go bot lane.
Are they going to get 2 towers from the Rift Herald? It looks to be the case. Already going to be pushing it down. Vizicsacsi's coming up. He's got no Forge Guard Horn available to him. The tower stands for a few seconds longer, but Vizicsacsi goes in with a searing charge. Perkz is spread down low. Chain of Corruption slows them down. Jankos manages to pull back Amazing thanks to the Impale. And Schalke, they hold on to their tower, but the cost of Amazing's life.
And this all was really good from G2 because they pushed in bot, forcing Chachi to go and catch the wave. They then knew that they had the Rift Herald, and because Schalke was split across the map catching these side waves, they had a numbers advantage in mid to be able to siege down and almost secure a second tier 2. picking a LeBlanc means you do have limited wave clear, and if you don't have kill threat in a side lane, it's really easy to just group and force a fight.
Mizuchachi goes in for the searing charge under the tower, tags Perkz as he finishes the TP after a couple extra tower shots. Now Chachi's in trouble, no flash from Aimer, but his ultimate would be able to buy him some time. G2 hold onto their tower again. They are extending that lead, 2 and a bit thousand gold after 15 minutes, and it's just, again, the G2 show when they're in control.
And now they've done all the first steps, the first chapters. Sadly for them, it tends to slow down now until Baron spawns. Going for tier 2 turrets is an option, and they will obviously try and do it, but it's a bit harder because it's easier for the enemy team to run past the jungle in to defend these turrets here. When it's so far down the map, it's hard to get proper deep vision as well this early on in the game, but as you get to see here, a kill obviously from G2. Perkz just managed to stay alive.
But Deficia, you already talked us through chapters 1 and 2. Typically, chapter 3 would be gaining that deep vision, right? And that's largely through the priorities that you have in lane. Set up the vision, ideally, if Baron is your objective, around the top side of the jungle, and then maybe you find a pick, or you can rush the Baron down.
Just no Baron yet for G2, and that's why, again, we might just see them relax a little bit. If they can actually play with Morgana and Varus and just get full priority in their lane, they can always move them. And they will guarantee another objective wherever they go, because you need one binding and someone dies on Schalke's side.
Well, we'll see whether or not they find the binding or make that Varus Morgana work. The other factor that Schalke now have to play around, Luden's Echo completed for Nukeduck. So that timer window of make a play, now you've got the burst, just deal with all the problems we've discussed already. The Hex Drinker, the Black Shield, the tools available to G2. So pressure on Schalke and Nukeduck, maybe especially to find that opportunity.
Now, I will say, I'm not sure how I feel about the armor boots being picked up by Hyanin. I feel that if anyone can die to the burst of the LeBlanc, it would be him. And a Black Shield is good and it helps, but it's not going to be enough against 2-item LeBlanc to try and mitigate that burst. So it surprises me that he respects the armor more, or he values the armor more than the magic resistance, but we'll see how that works out for him as the game progresses, and Nukeduck already looking for a pick.
Well, we're going to keep our eyes on just how effective that Black Shield is. Hyanin and Wadid making their way back to the tower. Nukeduck, just holding my breath. Let's see if he decides to cancel it. The rest of Schalke are backing away, so this will complete a channel. Risky business on that recall. But vision for G2, I'm looking now, they've got no contest. It's a little bit shallow. You know, opening of the rivers, there's one little ward and red buff there for G2, but they've been playing it still, like you said, Deficio, waiting for a next objective, either the Mountain Drake or the Baron, and then start forcing Schalke's hand. They've got the lead to play with.
I mean, if they put Perkz against Nukeduck, Perkz should be able to push it down, and then you can ward towards his lane, and that's where you're gonna get time to hit the mid turret or the top lane turret as they're setting up now. Oh, he's flashing.
All right, Amazing did not flash away from the Impale, has used it this time around. Subjugate will buy some time, but Perkz should be able to shred through with that Gatling gun and the missile barrage. The rest of Schalke are so far away, and Amazing is just buying time. That's all he's doing. The Fracture comes out, Frozen Domain underneath his feet. Yeah, that W is very, very powerful, but another Valkyrie comes back up. That will slow down Perkz. Well, let's see. Amazing ain't no Soaz. Soaz would have gotten away with that one. Nevertheless, with Amazing going down, it's just buying time. It delays anything else, but he still concedes his life and his flash.
And should also lose every single ward in his own jungle and potentially even a mid lane turret that is very low. But once again, G2 are mainly waiting for Baron. They're waiting to be strong enough to actually play around Baron. So before that happens, it's all around deep vision in one side and get a bit of damage on a tier 2 turret and maybe take it down. They have all the tools. They're going to get 2 items by the time Baron should be a factor. And then you have to just win that fight if you're G2 and game should be over.
And the thing is, a 5v5 fight for Schalke is really difficult. Unless Nukeduck finds the perfect flank and is able to one-shot Hyanin, if it's just a matter of killing the front line, you have to give the advantage to G2. Perkz already has the Trinity Force completed. He's got the Hex Drinker done too. Hyanin very close to the Rage Blade. And with this double carry threat, you will be able to melt through tanks much easier than they were able to in Game 2.
Just feels like the Game 1 and Game 3 when G2 have been able to get ahead, and somewhat ironically both times was through Wonder in the top lane, it's just started that snowball that Schalke have been able to stop.
I mean, Wonder's one thing, but I think more the bot lane is the key part. Like, they had the Tahm Kench Ashe in Game 1 from G2 that did really well, and they were able to use them to get an early bot lane turret as well, and then move the mid and have the Tahm Kench ulti. This one they gave Zyra Khan. Drake is funny enough in the question to Andre before the game started actually said, was it a bait? You know, what do you think about it? And he's like, no, it's not a bait. We want Zyra Khan. It's perfect for us. But actually, G2 were like, yeah, take Zyra Khan. We have something prepared to beat it in lane so that we can play around. And it was the Morgana and Varus. It's not a winning 2v2. It's just setting up a push into then Jankos showing up, Perkz showing up. And once they get the turret, they just so quickly snowball it because Schalke had no other way where they could actually get back in the game. They couldn't hard win mid, they couldn't hard win top. So they had to just say, okay, we're losing in this lane, and we don't really have an answer yet.
No, and you can see the power of the Skarner pick as well. The multiple ganks, the roams.
Oh, yeah.
Skarner has been very pivotal pick in the postseason here in the EULCS. And yes, some golf claps here in Berlin as a couple towers fall. Mid-inner goes down in favor of G2. Bottom outer goes down in favor of Schalke. But here comes Call of the Forge God. The target for now is Jankos. He's knocked up into the air after Call of the Forge God. But the damage dealers haven't been targeted. Finally, one goes down. That's a good searing charge out of Vizicsacsi, zoning away 3 members of G2. Feathers fly! But there's no root coming down. Instead, Nukeduck's running for his life. Escapes for now. The clone will go down. And Upset's able to sidestep the decimating smash with those feathers coming up. Continues to chase down Wunder. But he needs a lot more time. He needs a lot more damage to turn this one around. And the amazing Trundleman is running for his life.
He's trying again, man.
Once more. No flash available.
They're not chasing him yet.
If
They're
Perkz
fighting.
doesn't pick correct, then he won't find him. So Amazing's going to be able to get back around to the team. Upset and Vander just clearing out the wave. I think that ended up being a 1-for-1.
Oh, looking for Amazing though.
Have to question, where did Amazing go? Why did he not come down? Subjugate's on cooldown, and I didn't quite see his decision-making to catch a wave or plant a ward.
There's the 2-for-1 in favor of G2. Now, Amazing, he kind of ran up through the tri-bush and he wanted to go back to base somewhere hidden, but the blue trinket ended up spawning him out. They end up getting the kill, and now we see the TP flying package.
Oh, Vander and Upset. This is going to be so difficult. No mana available for Upset. The Roar comes out, but Perkz is on the front line. They're taking so much damage. Defensive flashes. Upset and Vander are still alive. Vizicsacsi's body blocking. The Frost Bomb and the Rocket Barrages. But Jankos is coming from the side. No flash, no impale. The sacrifice will be Vizicsacsi. After his stopwatch is used, he is taken down. But Upset and Vander escape at the cost of their flashes.
We also have to remember, G2 killed 2 turrets before this fight happened. We mentioned top lane vision is what they want, and then get damage on the 2 turrets, the one in top lane and the one in mid that was already low. They got both down, and they end up winning the fight after. They are in so much control, and the best thing, all the time is spent on getting even further ahead. Now sets up the Baron, which is alive. They've waited a little bit. They have tanks who can stand in front of it. G2 Esports should be able to play around it now and get another big fight.
And note that G2 do not commit for the Baron. They recognize that they need to regain control of the bot, so they have to pick up this farm and then reset with the bunny that they've just picked up.
They also need all the vision and yada yada yada. Obviously on the side of G2, you have a bit of time. You're not too much in a hurry just yet, but this after they already gotten a mid turret, they're getting top lane as well. Schalke calling, hey, our way back, we have to try and take this fight here, but all the focus is on Jankos, while on the right side, Yanan and Perkz are left untouched early, and while Chachi does charge in, he actually gets binded, but he gets ulti off, and they will get the first kill here on the tank.
And then we can see a really good double knockup coming out from Wunder, just soaking up so much of the damage, acting as a very effective front line. And at this point, it's like, okay, G2 can't really chase anymore, Schalke can't really chase anymore, and both teams should reset, but Schalke's worried that the Baron is being started off. So Vander and Upset hang around, and that is what allows G2 to get this TP flank in and try and get a couple kills. If it weren't for that knockup from Vander, this may have ended in disaster. Fortunately, though, for Schalke, they walk away with the majority of their members, except for the loss of Vizicsacsi once again.
And of course, after that, G2 go spend all their money, pick up the yada yada yada, which I'm going to ask Deficio to explain in the index of his book what exactly that equates to. Crucially, though, as we come out, 24 minutes in, it's a 5,000 gold lead for G2 Esports. They continue to build up that itemization advantage. Half an item to an item ahead in nearly every lane. Rapid Fire Cannon just picked up for Perkz. However, luckily, Nukeduck has got that Void Staff, but again, it's just so difficult for him to find the right targets.
Yeah, and we're just seeing why best of fives are so awesome, because the adaptation between games is so important. Schalke felt really confident with the Zyra Khan, especially because Vander played really well in the last game, so they instantly grab it again, giving over Skarner to G2 Esports, then ends up getting, in a tough lane matchup, and G2 just showing, yeah, you know what, you might win with Zyra Khan one game, we have the answer for the second game, and is now onto Schalke to figure out how to get back in this game, and if they lose it, what do you do for next draft? Like, there's just always so many things in these best of fives, and G2 right now have double Mountain. They have so much damage.
Double Mountain, double AD carry, and Baron is going to
they have to be able to get this Baron here, and they should be able to close out the game as well.
Well, just going to wait for the pick instead. Pillar of Ice comes out. There goes the Flash Impale. Amazing once again the target. Now buys a little bit of time with that Frozen Domain. Upsets on the front line, but Wonder comes running in with an unstoppable onslaught. So much damage onto Vander and Upset. Nuketax waiting in the wings, but he can't find the right target. Dashes back to his clone, and Wadid takes him out. Vizicachi's looking for Perkz, but Flash on cooldown. Perkz will be able to escape with his life.
There's now no jungler on the side of Schalke. Nukeduck is gone too. The steal potential from Schalke should be unavailable, and that will be a Baron locked in for G2.
Oh, just a reminder, Nukeduck on LeBlanc was 3 wins, 14 losses career in the EULCS coming in. He's not able to find the picks. The game is crumbling around him.
Yeah, he's left in a very, very tough situation. See the setup? G2 have all the control they need in the river. Amazing. Wants to walk in and check what's going on. Pillar does not give you vision, by the way, when you put it in the brush. That was changed a long time ago. And he just gets flashed on.
Yep. And then here we actually saw, I'm not sure how Wonder was able to run past Vander, but he ended up going past him and then straight on top of Upset, which forced Vander to then immediately dash back. His engage didn't really prove helpful. And while we did see a decent amount of damage from Upset, unfortunately all 5 members of G2 were primed and ready to melt everyone else that stood in their way.
So you got the Baron, you already killed most of the outer turrets, you have double AD carry, you have double Mountain Drake. These inhib turrets will die so quickly. G2 are looking to get at least 2 of them down, open up that base completely, and the only way back in the game for Schalke is through team fighting.
And remember that coming into this gauntlet, we heard from Fnatic that they expected Splyce to be the team to make it to the finals. Many analysts expected Schalke to be the heavy favorites. Some crazy people had Misfits as a kind of like dark horse as the people that could potentially run the whole gauntlet.
Not many that I could see.
Very few people predicted G2. And when you kind of look at how they've been performing and grown after yesterday's game and today, you can see that right now, they are looking primed and ready to secure that 3rd seed for Worlds.
It is definitely true. 3 weeks of not playing after losing 3-0 all in.
Let's take a look what happens with this engage. The knockout follows on the Perkz, but he's able to escape with his life. The Flash is now on cooldown. Nukeduck is looking for him. The chains won't find it yet. Searing Charge and Bellows Breath. Not enough just yet. Finally, an auto attack. Somehow, Schalke find themselves 2 quick kills.
And Nukeduck is looking for more. He's going to jump over the wall. Can't lock down Wonder though, but such a big team fight win for Schalke.
Oh, that buys so much time. So 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the Baron, but for G2 did not just walk down mid here and get the first inhib turret. They're trying once again, but they're waiting for Perkz to respawn. His TP's up, but it's 25 seconds, and G2 should not be able to do a whole lot.
And we heard from the coach that the Rakan was pivotal in their win in Game 2, and that it could come up clutch in Game 3. That engage from Vander was exactly what Schalke needed to buy a little bit more time and come back into this game.
And we said it, they have to just team fight to get back in the game. If Perkz gets so confident, he's not close to Wadid either, so no Black Shield can actually hit him, and he will regret this decision to move down and get a free hit, because it actually ends up costing him and his team the fight.
I also missed the fact that Vizicachi's Call the Forge God knocked up 3 people on G2's side, buying the time they needed to take down Perkz. That replay brought to you by Acer Predator.
Still, 35 seconds left. They have to package on Perkz. They can buff up the minions a bit. They need to get at least 1 inhib down with this Baron buff.
And it's still a 7,000 gold lead. So yes, Schalke won a team fight, but you need to do that again and again to even this game out. Vizicachi's ultimate's on cooldown, which means they cannot stand toe-to-toe. The inhibitor is secured. G2 maintain map control as well as the gold lead. Nukeduck's doing what he can to clear this bottom wave out before G2 arrive.
10 seconds left on the Baron. Ooh, Perkz goes underneath the tower to force Nukeduck back, and they will be able to secure it. So G2 still picking up a healthy amount of gold off the back of that Baron. 7 towers to 1 in their favor right now. And even with a big teamfight win for Schalke, the map still remains in control of G2.
And the problem is, the teamfight wins only a little bit of gold. There's no objectives to follow. You're still under pressure.
They
You're
got
still
some
under Baron
shutdown
buff.
gold,
Yeah,
but yes, you're quite right.
And you're still looking at a Corki on the other side who's scaling so well in team fights. Now, the thing about LeBlanc, obviously, once she got changed back to the old ways where you can W, and then you can use your ulti to instantly get a ton of AoE damage with it. Makes her a good team fighter if she can actually land that combo onto the backline, but it is very difficult to do. Also because Skarner is sitting ready to just impale you instantly, and then you just die if you are Nukeduck. So a lot of it again comes down to them, the crit AD carry, which is of course the Xayah, who is on Infinity Edge now. But that should not out-damage 2 AD carries on the other side.
See, to me, when I think of LeBlanc, she's often becomes almost a poke champion in the late game, because you kind of sit in these patches of darkness, you jump over walls, and because, as you said, the changes, you can now do a QR combo, and you can take a healthy amount of HP off of someone, especially if you tag an auto there and get the electrocute as well, then that kind of poke damage can be pivotal in turning, like, fights around, because when teams try to siege against you, you're then too low to be able to continue. But because of all the resistances and, as you said, pick potential on the side of G2, it is so much harder for Nukeduck to really pull that off.
And we also know whenever Chachi tries to ulti towards either Perkz or Yanan, there is a black shield, so he needs to hit almost 2 or 3 members every time, so they actually get someone who's not getting black shielded, and then they can follow up with more engage. But the Trundle is an issue. He dies very, very quickly in these fights. He more or less just relies on his ulti to stay alive.
That's thrift shopping Trundle right now. Spectre's Cowl, Chain Vest, and a Kindle Gem to go with Cinderhulk. In contrast, these Convergence as well as Knight's Vow. So a sizable difference between the two respective junglers. It all started with Jankos playing effectively both top and bottom lane, and G2 at 31 minutes have been in control the entire game.
Here we go.
Forge God comes out. Yes, that's a 2-man knockup, but Giannis forced to flash. The Impale catches out Nukeduck. Keep your eyes on Upset. Yes, he's got Infinity Edge, but he cannot get through Wonder. There's simply too much frontline on G2's side. G2 are a little overcommitted as the minion wave was melted through thanks to those feathers, but they're making their way down from the top lane, and Supers are inside the base.
The target focus from G2 is phenomenal as they make their way towards match point and put the pressure onto Schalke.
All right, take a look at this. The Nexus turrets are now the focus. 5 members of G2 Esports are pouring onto the base. Tower number 1 has fallen. Jankos has gone a little bit low, but Chachi is very dead. He's dropped down, upsets the target. Valkyrie forward from Perkz, keeps the pressure on Schalke. G2 Esports will find another kill. Turn their attention to Upset. Yes, he gets Perkz, but the Nexus is being focused down. Drop very, very low. Not finished just yet. 1 or 2 more hits, and finally, G2 win the game.
And the thing we learn here is that when G2 can draft a winning bot lane that they can play towards, no one on the side of Schalke can actually do anything, because Nukeduck will not beat Perkz in mid. And we know it's tank pick from Vizicsacsi top. So when you start losing bottom side, you can't just turn around and say, okay, we go top and kill you then, or we go mid and kill you. And that slowed down everything for Schalke the moment they lost that first turret. And Yanan and Wadid, good answer to Zyra Khan, and great play from Jankos in the early game on Skarner.
And that's the person I really want to focus in on, because in game 2 we saw him on the Poppy, and I felt that his impact was a little bit limited. We didn't quite see the kind of game-changing plays that he was able to make in game 1 and in game 3. And when you give him something like a Skarner, it makes his ability to be impactful on these lanes with the ultimate and the opportunities that he has with the setups around the map to really make this early game go in favor of the side of G2.
Exactly, and also the Corki pick, which we highlighted and praised a lot in the pick and ban phase. You get another consistent damage dealer, you can build Hexdringer so you won't die in lane. Perkz ended up just dealing a ton of damage on his side, almost doubling the rest of his team.
Well, it was a great pick, it was a great performance. G2 Esports are 1 win away from winning the regional qualifiers and going to Worlds. We'll be